if you don't have any backups of your data, and let's say, one of the worst case scenario happens, someone in the organization ends up, bringing ransomware into your company, without any type of backups, you're unfortunately going to be at the mercy of that ransomware, whether that's paying that that fee to have your data encrypted. That's why for businesses it's almost non-negotiable. You want to make sure that you have a continuity plan, especially when it comes to your data, and that's why sitting down and talking out your recovery time objective, your recovery point objective. Where's my data going to be at all times? I want to make sure that I do have something offsite in case of any type of issue. I want to make sure that I have multiple copies of my data, so that way if one of those control points fails, I then have another way to get that data back. So I would say the best thing you can do is sit down, have a conversation, clearly define where you need your data to be, what your recovery point objective is, what your recovery time objective is, and bring that all together in a comprehensive, disaster recovery plan, so that way in case if the worst does happen, you have that continuity, you can get your data back and you can get back up and running. So the 3-2-1 backup is a really, simple methodology that, has withstood the test of time to kind of, focus your backups for your company. 3 being 3 copies of your data. Now what I mean by that is you have 1 copy that's your production copy, which is your main copy of data, and then 2 backup copies that go along with that. So that's your 3. Your 2 is going to be having those backup copies on 2 different types of media, whether that's locally, whether that's a network attached storage device, whether it's a USB drive, whether it's in the cloud. Having those backups on 2 different forms of media is going to help with that redundancy. And the 1 is going to be making sure that you have 1 copy offsite. Just having, 1 control point is never exactly a great idea when it comes to data. You always want to have multiple copies, so that way, let's say, you may be good in the cloud, but what happens when that cloud provider, has an outage or goes down? And you've defined that you need to get your business back up and running within 4 hours. If that cloud provider's down, you don't have a way to get back to what your company defined as where you need to be in your production data. And one way you can easily, make sure that you have multiple controls in place, I would just make sure you test. It's always important that even when you have these procedures, these policies in place, as you have your data elsewhere, that you're checking it. It's never a bad idea to go and perform a test and just make sure that if I do delete a copy of a document, I have a way to get that back. So even though you have your data just in the cloud, it's always good to make sure that you have multiple control points in case of that cloud provider going down at the same time your disaster happens. It's unlikely, but it can in fact happen, and you want to make sure that you're protecting your business from data loss, which is essentially the essence of your company.